Baltimore, of course, receiving Johnson and a 6th-round pick. That is the breaking news that we're following here. Carolina is receiving a 5th-round pick. Panthers are trading wide receiver Deontay Johnson to the Ravens.
A very important day takes place on November 5th. And for some of you guys, you might be thinking that Mike is talking about the election. But no! We're talking about the NFL trade deadline! And so far, it's been an absolutely insane NFL trade deadline. The AFC has been going absolutely insane in an attempt to reload and make a push for the Super Bowl. Unless if you're the New York Jets, which I don't know what you're doing in that case. Making trades to try to get better, but at the same time, they're one of the worst teams in the NFL, so the jury's really out on them. But the Baltimore Ravens have officially joined this race. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help us make this push to 1 million subscribers. And now that we get all that out of the way, break! We dominated opening night on Prize Picks, hitting on the Anthony Edwards free square and making an easy $75, and then making another $150 on my Hauser LeBron James picks. We had a lot of NFL success as well, all in all making about $400 over the past week. Now, if you haven't signed up for Prize Picks, make sure you use my promo code Mikerophone to get a free $50 when you make an entry of $5 or more. I give away my picks for free on Instagram at @TheFlightMike or Snapchat at FlightMikeSnap, and thank you Prize Picks for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? I don't think we've ever seen this level of trade activity in the NFL during the trade deadline in quite some time. Certainly not during my entire career making NFL content as a full-time job over the past 4 years, because you rarely see players that are bona fide wide receiver ones on the move during the trade deadline. And this year, we've already seen Davante Adams get traded to the New York Jets, which has been disastrous so far, and we have a completely separate video on that we made just yesterday. But on the very same day, you have Amari Cooper getting traded from the Cleveland Browns to the Buffalo Bills. You have DeAndre Hopkins getting traded from the Tennessee Titans to the Kansas City Chiefs. In each and every one of these scenarios, except for maybe Davante Adams, a wide receiver has improved its chances and has improved his team. There was a rumor that Cooper Kupp could have potentially been traded if the LA Rams continued their losing streak once Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua returned, as we specified on our video on Cooper Kupp. But alas, the LA Rams were able to defeat the Minnesota Vikings, and then Sean McVay took Cooper Kupp off of the trade block, which means at this point, if you're in the market for a wide receiver, your best options are Mike Williams of the New York Jets, who pretty much is expendable as a result of the Davante Adams trade, and it doesn't really seem like Aaron Rodgers is his biggest fan, considering the fact that he's already thrown Mike Williams under the bus prior to the New York Jets trading for Davante Adams.
Two verticals, Allen's down the seam, Mike's down the red line. So I'm looking at Allen. He puts his hand up, 3 guys go with him, so I'm throwing a no look to the red line. And when I just peek my eyes back there, he's running an in-breaker. So it's got to be down the red line.
And the other option is Deontay Johnson. Now, Deontay Johnson's situation is very unique. Prior to this season, Deontay Johnson was the latest Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver that essentially got banished away, joining a line of wide receivers that were very productive during their time with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but was doomed to fail once he left. Other wide receivers that are on this list are receivers like Antonio Brown, which did win a Super Bowl, but clearly wasn't as prolific once he left the Pittsburgh Steelers. Juju Smith-Schuster, who also did win a Super Bowl, but at the same time wasn't as good as he was in his second year in the league. Chase Claypool, who is a shell of his former self. And given the situation that Deontay Johnson was traded to, a lot of fans thought that he was destined for the same. I've said this many times in my videos on Bryce Young. The Carolina Panthers had virtually no assets to try to improve the team around Bryce Young. All they really could do was hire his third head coach, which was credited for completely turning around Geno Smith's career and Baker Mayfield's career. They had the cap space to completely make over the offensive line, which is actually one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, and they just had to really hit on their draft picks, even though they didn't have the #1 overall pick in this past year's NFL draft, and they still owe draft picks from the DJ Moore, Caleb Williams, and Bryce Young trade. So they really had to make sneaky moves in order to try to improve around Bryce Young. And one of their sneaky moves, in addition to completely making over the offensive line, which was a huge success, was trading for Deontay Johnson. So far, Deontay Johnson's been a very solid wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers, and that's despite them being one of the worst offenses in the entire NFL. He's currently on pace to match his statistical output from last year. That's kind of impressive considering how bad the Carolina Panthers are. But due to the fact that the Carolina Panthers are terrible and that they have one of the best wide receivers on the trade block, they really have no choice but to trade Deontay Johnson. But in this case, I have to admit, this is just a sad trade for them. I think they don't really have that much leverage but to make this trade. And if I'm Deontay Johnson, I'd be over the moon about going to this franchise. So if you guys remember, the Baltimore Ravens played the Cleveland Browns this past week, and probably one of the most comical parts about this game, which the Baltimore Ravens clearly should have won, was in the beginning of the fourth quarter, Lamar Jackson drops back, is creating a play on the fly, finds Rashad Bateman wide open, but Rashad Bateman can't make the reception because the sun was in his eyes. And this isn't me saying that Lamar Jackson doesn't have enough weapons, because the Baltimore Ravens are actually one of the best teams in the NFL. After signing Derrick Henry in free agency, this team is one of the most electric offenses I think I've ever seen. And as a Dallas Cowboy fan, I'll be honest, I'm a little bit butthurt that we didn't sign Derrick Henry. For some reason, Jerry Jones thought a washed Ezekiel Elliott and Dalvin Cook, in addition to Rico Dowdle, would be enough for the Cowboys' rushing attack to succeed, which just really infuriates me because he said this.
All in. All in. We're all in with these young guys coming up. And we're all in with this draft.
But to give you an idea of how incredible Derrick Henry has been, last year in his final season with the Tennessee Titans, in 17 games played, he had 1,167 rushing yards and 12 touchdowns. This year with the Baltimore Ravens, in his age 30 season, he has 946 rushing yards in 8 games played for an absurd 6.5 yards per carry. That's just so crazy. So the Baltimore Ravens certainly can use some improvement in their wide receiver core, and it seems like they found it, because according to Adam Schefter, Carolina is sending wide receiver Deontay Johnson to the Baltimore Ravens, sources tell ESPN. And the return for this is just really sad. I mean, the Carolina Panthers are giving up Deontay Johnson in a 6th round pick for Baltimore's 5th round pick. This is despite the Carolina Panthers paying the remainder of Deontay Johnson's salary. Now, I understand that Deontay Johnson becomes a free agent this offseason. I understand that there is virtually no hope for the Carolina Panthers to improve at all whatsoever. At the same time, in this particular instance, although I think the Panthers have no assets at all whatsoever, although I believe the Panthers really need to do everything they possibly can to improve as soon as possible, in my opinion, for this trade, the juice just is not worth the squeeze. There's no point in trading Deontay Johnson for this haul. I know you might be thinking, oh my god, Mike, the Panthers are going to get to pick 30 picks sooner. This is a great upgrade to their pick. But that's until you remember that the Baltimore Ravens have a good chance of either making it to the Super Bowl or the AFC Championship, or at least making a deep run into the playoffs. The Panthers are probably going to be one of the very first picks in the NFL draft. If you're really doing the advanced calculus in your head here, the improvement of that 6th round pick to that 5th round pick, it's pretty much an early 6th round pick for a late 5th round pick, and you have to give up Deontay Johnson at the same time. And typically I'd be all for this if the Carolina Panthers didn't have a struggling quarterback in his 2nd year in the NFL that really could use all the help he can get. And in this particular instance, I just don't think it's worth trading Deontay Johnson. I'm sorry. I mean, if you're the Baltimore Ravens, this is a great get. You literally just got Deontay Johnson for free. You just have to pick 10 picks later in the NFL draft. But for the Carolina Panthers, there wasn't any point in doing this. Congratulations, you get to pick 10 to 15 picks sooner when people are throwing darts at the dartboard at this stage of the NFL draft, and you let go of probably your best wide receiver, and you make it even more difficult for Bryce Young to develop. If you're a Ravens fan, you should be very, very excited about this trade. I mean, their offense looks insane. Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, Deontay Johnson, Mark Andrew, Lamar Jackson, Isaiah Likely. I mean, it's an incredible offense. But in the case of the Carolina Panthers, this was a horrible trade. I give the Baltimore Ravens an A+ for this trade. I give the Carolina Panthers an F. You should have kept kept him, even if it means he's walking in free agency. Bryce Young could really use all the help he can get in this particular instance, especially if you're going to continue putting him under center. If you're getting more in return for him, then I would have traded him. Otherwise, I would have just held on to him. So let me know in the comment section down below what do you guys think about all this, man. We have another video coming out in regards to Anthony Richardson getting benched. It might be out already. If it is, I'll leave it in the end screen and meet you guys there. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike. I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.